Okay.
Okay, we're ready? Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, to our North Richmond Municipal Advisory Council meeting for Tuesday, January the 3rd. Happy New Year,
Happy New Year.
2023. Okay, so just in our absence of our chair, he will be on. I'm gonna go ahead in agreement with all my council members to actually lead this meeting for now. Okay, so as the meeting has now been called to order. And if you may, Tanya, call the roll at this point, please.
Yes, we have present Marta, Dulce, Annie, Princess, and Jorge. And absent is Don and Beverly.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Let's for item 2, the approval of the agenda and the minutes, please. If you could take a moment, our council members. And I would like to obtain a motion for the approval of the agenda and the minutes.
I motion to approve the agenda and the minutes for today.
I second that.
Okay, so hearing that was Princess and Jorge, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
thank,
Beverly just joined.
and Beverly just joined. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, so let's go into item 3, our public comments. If we
That's
can
me.
keep it down for, if we can keep it at 3 minutes, please. Mike and
Okay.
Cordell, it'll be appreciated. Okay,
Thank you. So, good evening, Acting Chair Meredith, council members. I am Cordell Hendler, and I'm a Richmond resident. So, I would like to invite the MAC to the El Cerrito Chamber of Commerce luncheon on January 25th at 11:30 a.m. at the.
Excuse me, Cordell, one moment,
Yes,
please.
ma'am.
Excuse me. Could we please have, we have a lot of, background. If we can please have you all to mute while he is speaking, please, it'll be appreciated. Thank you so very much. Okay, proceed, Cordell.
Okay, so you are cordial. The El Cerrito Chamber of Commerce luncheon on January 25th at 11:30 a.m. at Los Moles restaurant in El Cerrito, and it's $25, and it includes lunch too. So that's one. And then number 2 is you are cordially invited to attend the Richmond Rotary Club weekly meeting on January the 20th at 12:30 at the Richmond Country Club. It's $25 for lunch too. So our featured speaker for that meeting will be Diana Lopez, who will be talking with us about what are some of the things that the Richmond Public Library is working on upcoming. So hopefully everyone will come to these events, and that includes lunch too, Acting Chair Meredith. So coffee, everything. So please attend these events, and that's it.
Okay, thank you, Cordell. Okay, and also Cordell, could you put that information in the chat? I know I kind of rushed you to keep you within the 3 minutes. So if you could put that information in the chat for everyone, it'd be appreciated.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Tanya, the next, okay, I think it's O'Neill.
Yes, I see O'Neill next. O'Neill
Okay,
Fernandez and then Latifa. Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you take him from there, okay, Tanya? Okay.
Hi, I'm O'Neill Fernandez. I'm a outreach team leader with SOS, and we just want to let you guys, everyone know that we want to get more deeper into the camps and do a lot more outreach, as well as bring a lot of our services to North Richmond. We already do. I'm an ex unhoused in North Richmond. I've been through a lot, got my stuff together, and now I'm here, a part of SOS, and being able to help a lot of these people. With us being in your guys' neighborhoods, it's us providing numerous things of resources, housing, health, showers, trash pickups. And before I end it, I want to give you guys a number, but I'll let you guys get a pencil, and I'll give you the number before I'm done to let you guys. We need your guys also help. If you guys ever come across unhoused folks, and it's not just encampments, it's single people throughout Richmond, North Richmond. We are there for the housed and the unhoused, but we want to get deeper into these camps and provide more of the services throughout North Richmond. And most of our 90% of our team have been unhoused. A huge portion is what is SOS? Okay, so what SOS is, we are a service provider for encampments and for unhoused encampments. We do trash pickups, we do showers, we do outreach, we do a number of different things for the unhoused, which we are also here for the housed as well as to help clean up the neighborhood with our trash pickup. I don't know when the 3 minutes are up, but our number, if I could give you guys a number, our number to get for any of our outreach, to get any of our services, for us to help go deeper into these encampments and help the folks out there, please give us a call at 510-806-8650. And you guys all have a great day and a happy New Year's.
Okay, thank you, O'Neill. Tanya, if I can, before we get to Miss Latifa, I see that our chair is on Mr. Gilmore. He's smiling.
Hello, how you doing?
Okay, fine. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna relinquish the seat back over to our chair, and he will take it from there. Chair Gilmore, it is Latifa that is ready to speak at this time.
And we're still on,
We're still on public comments. 3
okay.
minutes, and Latifa is next.
Okay, go ahead, Latifa.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Happy New Year, everyone. I just wanted to chime in quickly. I know that some people are not here at the end of the meeting. So I wanted to let you know about, I'll just do the January event right now. So January 16th, we are having an MLK celebration at the North Richmond Farm, which is at 323 Brookside Drive. That day, it's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The first part of the day, volunteers will be planting in the newly constructed rain gardens from 9 to 11:30. And then we'll transition into the MLK program. And we will be honoring some of our community members, and you may know some of them. So we will be honoring Miss Annie King Meredith. We will be honoring Miss Janine Shahid, and also Miss Princess Robinson. So we hope to see you there, whether you are planting in the rain gardens or coming out to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and our community members. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any hands I'm missing?
Hi.
Okay, we'll move on to the law enforcement agency reports. We'll start with the Sheriff Department.
Hi, good afternoon. I'll start off with the select crime trends. We're trending downward. For the month of October, we had 15 crimes. For the month of November was 15 as well. And in December, we saw 10. Primarily just due to a reduction in thefts from vehicles, petty thefts in general, and then also burglaries. We still are seeing a trend of recovering stolen vehicles, which means that the vehicles are being dumped primarily along the railroad tracks. But to give you an idea of how many we're recovering, in October, we recovered 5. November was 7, and December was another 5. So it's good that we're getting them back. However, in some cases or some instances, the vehicles are pretty badly damaged, and or they've also been burned in the past as well. So well, I'd rather catch them or at least recover them before they're damaged. But at least we are getting some of the property back. But we are working on that to investigate who's doing the dumping there. For calls for service, we had 333 calls for service for the month of December. As far as the reports that were generated as a result of that, we took 37 reports. Other matters in December, we selected a new mitigation deputy or a resident deputy from North Richmond. That's Deputy Aaron Sakai. He's currently assigned to North Richmond. He works day shift hours, so his hours for this position are going to stay the same, which would be 0600 till 4 in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday. We did that to try and align with the Richmond Sanitary District so they can partner up and work together and try and combat some of the illegal dumping that's going on. To that note, we also met with staff from Supervisor Joya's office as well as partners throughout the county as far as the mitigation plan goes. So we met on December 14th to discuss some strategies as it relates to the housing authority sites, also illegal dumping that's taking place in some of the hot spots, and also some planning to try and combat that. That's all I have at this time. Any questions for me?
Questions? Any hands? I don't see any. Did I miss anybody? If not, thank you so much, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from Richmond PD?
I don't think I see anyone. We were supposed to get an alternate this month, Sergeant Melgosa, but I don't think I see that name on the list. So I may need to ask them to send us a report and then share it that way.
Okay, and how about Highway Patrol?
No, we haven't heard from Highway Patrol. We've been emailing them, but we still haven't found like our point person yet.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to I guess item 6.
Yeah.
Items for, yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to make a proposed amendment. I know I informed some of the council members about an additional presentation by Healthy Contra Costa. So if possible, if we can make an amendment and a motion to add that presentation, and that's like a youth listening, North Richmond Youth Listening Project presentation by Healthy Contra Costa.
And is it, did we approve the agenda and everything already?
Yeah, I got approved.
The minutes and everything was done already, right?
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
like an amendment.
So a motion I need from the group to add the healthy, is that under the 15-minute category?
Yeah, and one of the presentations will be only 5 minutes. It's more like an announcement. So I think it should still work within our time frame.
Got it. Okay, I'll entertain a motion from a board member to approve the amendment to the agenda to add as item D, Healthy Contra Costa listening, Healthy Contra Costa.
Chair Gilmore, this is Annie. I would like to make the motion.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second to add the item? I'm sorry.
I second that.
All right, thank you, George. All in favor, I know you by saying aye.
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 Oppose? Aye. Oppose? All right, it passes. Okay, we're gonna be strictly adhering to the 15-minute line items. We have a pretty healthy agenda. So I will be keeping time, so act accordingly. All right, we'll start with Los Deltas.
Cool. Hey, everybody. And Happy New Year's. Can I get screen sharing access?
Let me know if you can share now.
Okay, it looks like I can. All right. Can you all see it and hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Well, hey, everybody, my name's Hannah. I am a fellow through an initiative called Partnership for the Bay's Future, and I'm happy to provide an update on what's going on with the Los Deltas properties. I wanted to quickly introduce myself first. So like I said, I'm a fellow, so kind of think of me as an independent researcher working with this initiative called Partnership for the Bay's Future. There are a bunch of us placed in communities throughout the Bay Area, and I was selected to work in and with North Richmond. So I'm working really closely with the Housing Authority of Contra Costa County, in addition to Richmond Land, Richmond Our Power Coalition, and CHDC, specifically on the Los Deltas redevelopment project for the next 2 years. So I started in June and I'll be finishing up in June 2024. And just the idea is I'll add staff capacity, research capacity to all these organizations for this project. So here's some background information on Los Deltas. Originally, it was 214 units of public family housing. However, only 95 of those units were occupied by the end, which means 119 were vacant. And the units were spread out throughout the neighborhood. Most of them were on the 11.5-acre site where 134 of the units were. That's also where the Head Start building was, the Housing Authority office building, and the Project Pride building. Now that is a vacant piece of land. All of that has been torn down after Los Deltas was closed. In addition to those, there were also 80 scattered site units. Those are still standing. So there are 38 duplexes and 4 single family homes throughout North Richmond that are still there. They will be rehabbed, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a sec. At the time that the Housing Authority closed down Los Deltas, there were 81 households living there, which means they had to be displaced or relocated. So they were given housing choice vouchers, also known as Section 8 vouchers, or they were given space in other Housing Authority owned public housing. So elsewhere, since that was the only one in North Richmond. So a lot of them have moved out of North Richmond now. For many years in the making, there has been a lot of thinking about what to do with this land, how to sell it and do it fairly. So now we're finally getting there. There's 3 separate processes, and I'll go over each of them in their own slide. But as an overview, the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a below market value sale. So a $1 sale, basically a giveaway of 16 of the scattered sites. And then there's going to be fair market value sales of the remaining scattered sites. And then after all of that, the main campus will have a competitive process for developers to come up with ideas of what to build there, what type of housing to build, and that will happen last. So we've been focusing a lot of our time and energy thinking about the below market value $1 sales, because that's what's happening first. That RFQ is set to come out in just a few weeks. I'm working with the Housing Authority to finalize that language, hopefully get it out by the end of January. But essentially 16 of the duplexes or the single family homes will be available for purchase for $1 through a request for qualifications. And then the developers who submit proposals, all those proposals will be evaluated by a panel of staff, community leaders, and resident leaders. And developers will submit their ideas to renovate those buildings and then sell them as affordable home ownership opportunities to low-income households. Each developer will be limited to 5 of the properties each, so it's likely there's going to be 3 or 4 different developers working on their own projects. So hopefully a variety of different types of homes and meeting the needs of different households. And each of those developers just must demonstrate their capacity to renovate and market those units appropriately. So the units are going to give first priority to those Los Deltas residents who were relocated a few years ago. They get first pick if they want to live there because they did live there before and had to move. If there are still units left over after that, then anyone who currently or used to live in North Richmond, like you grew up in North Richmond or you still live there, will get second priority. And if there are still units after that, then the developers can market to the general public. And the Housing Authority will maintain that list of people who get the first priority that the developers will market to. Another part of my job is to work with those residents who used to live at Los Deltas, in addition to working with CHDC and Richmond Land to offer education and preparation for home ownership to make sure they have everything they need if they are looking to buy one of the properties. That's optional. They can decide if they want to move back and work towards owning one of these properties if they want. So that's the below market value sales. After that, the remaining 52 scattered sites will be sold at market value. And the reason for that is so that the Housing Authority can recuperate a lot of the lost funds and put that money towards other voucher programs and public housing programs throughout Contra Costa County. The $1 sales that I was just had on the previous slide, they'll get the first pick. So the best 16 will go for $1, and then the market value sites are the remainder after those first 16 are sold. The timing of this isn't exactly determined yet, but they'll be put on the market soon after the first 16 are transferred to the new owners. After all of that, then we will put out the plan and the request for proposals for the main campus. So that could be maybe a year from now, or hopefully at the end of this year, once the rest of these scattered sites are sold. So here is a tentative timeline. It's always, things are shifting around, but I thought this would be helpful for people to see kind of what we're working on in the next year. So in the past few months, we've been working on designing that local preference policy, so determining who gets first priority for these units. We also have to work with the federal government, Department of Housing and Urban Development, to get their approval for anything we do. We've been writing that request for qualifications and determining the selection criteria. So how we will decide between the proposals that are submitted, and also looking for people to serve on the selection panel. So last month I put out the form for that. We got 8 people who are interested in serving on the selection panel, and we will be determining 2 or 3 of them to be on that selection panel and pick the developers. And I've also been working with CHDC and Richmond Land to do outreach with the former residents of Los Deltas and get them updated and hooked up with homeownership counseling and all that. So this month, Housing Authority will release that RFQ, and then developers will have 90 days to submit their proposals. So sometime in April, most likely, that's when all the proposals will be sent in. And in the meantime, we'll be training the selection panel. And then this summer, the selection panel will make their selection, and it will go to the Board of Supervisors for approval. And then we will go into the market rate sales for the remaining scattered sites. And throughout all this time, we'll also be working on the plan for the main campus, since that's a much bigger project. Once the developers are chosen for these $1 sales, they'll be required to have them rehabbed and ready for the new owners within 2 years. So hopefully midway through 2025, there will be new homeowners in those first 16 buildings. I will be working on this until June 2024. So my personal goal is to just have all the plans set and in motion by that time, but acknowledging that construction and rehab could take a few years longer, especially for the main campus. So I think I'm almost at time, but if anyone has questions, I'm here, as well as Tony from the Housing Authority, so we can answer questions for a few minutes.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing too. You know, a lot of this is also going to depend on what HUD is willing to do. Every transaction has to be approved by HUD, but also when we get our approval to proceed with the disposition of Los Deltas, it was basically to sell everything at market value. So doing these below market sales is kind of thrown a curve into that process. And we think it'll be mainly a formality, but it's still a process we got to go through with HUD. And we have started that process. We'll find out what exactly they want from us so that we can get it to them and get signed off on that. So, you know, things are starting to roll. Just bear with us. Don, do you want to do questions now or later, or not do questions?
No,
Right
let's do
now.
questions now. You've got about 5 minutes.
Well, I see Princess's message in the chat. When are the market rate units being sold? That's likely to be this summer, probably July at the earliest, or into the fall, sometime in that time frame.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Latifah.
Are they getting it on Zillow, or are you just
No.
reaching out to the list that you have?
You want to take that, Tony?
No, they're going to be marketed. We have a realtor that we've contracted with, so they're going to market it through normal marketing processes. They'll be listed on MLS. They'll be out there. There'll be signage. There will be advertisement. There'll be including the addresses that are for sale, so people will be able to not only, you know, arrange to tour a site and see what exactly it looks like, what they're in for in terms of rehab, but also make a decision whether that's the property they want to buy. So just stand by with that process here. We'll let you know as we get closer to that deadline.
Latifah.
Is there any way to have North Richmond residents to have a first look before we have other folks coming in, you know, rather than having investors coming in and buying up property or long distance or like absentee owners? Yeah, it seems as though we're just kind of like, it's not a good look just to have that everything wide open to the MLS. So is there a way that we can maybe
So the below
not
market sale,
not below market, I'm talking about the market rate units.
on the market rates, there will be a priority for, you know, residents of North Richmond. First priority is going to be the former Los Deltas residents. Second priority will be with the residents of North Richmond. So, you know, there'll be a progressive process there, but they will all be released at the same time.
So you're saying that, so the displaced residents and then the current residents that are not already homeowners, they will have first priority before these are released to the realtors and MLS?
Yeah, let's say a developer comes in and makes an offer on a unit or all the units, whatever it is. And, you know, a former Los Deltas resident comes in and puts an offer on one of those units. You know, we'll talk to them before we talk to some outside developer. You know, the idea is to build wealth to residents of Los Deltas, and secondly to the residents of North Richmond. So selling them off to somebody from the outside, you know, is generally kind of plan C, you know, because they're not looking out for, you know, trying to sell or fix the properties up and sell them or turn them over to, you know, anyone. You know, there's still going to be a request that they consider the Los Deltas families first and North Richmond residents second.
Tony, is that true also with community-based organizations? They get a preference?
Yeah, Don, you know, again, the idea is to keep it local.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's, you know, we're very clear about this. There's outside money that could come in here and very lucratively offer to buy everything. And it's easy for us to say, yep, let's just sell it to them. But again, you got to remember, underlying all of this was our first, and, you know, has been our ongoing statement from the very beginning, that this is intended to build wealth for the families of North Richmond. And that's what we're going to be hoping to see in terms of the responses and who we sell to.
Okay, I have Naima and then I have Annie. Go ahead, Naima.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, just out of curiosity, because I know this question relates to building local properties. And I know this is a question that you've put some time and effort into thinking about how to solve it. For the below market price units, are you limiting that to homeowners, or will that be open for rentals?
The below market units are being sold to nonprofit developers who are buying these for $1 with the expectation contractually, not just you're going to give me your word for it, but you're going to get into contracts with us that those units not only are going to get fixed up, but you're going to sell them to people that are either former Los Deltas residents or residents of North Richmond first, before you try to sell them to anyone else. And regardless of who you try to sell them to, they're going to have restrictive covenants where the family has to be at 80% of area median income or below. So, there's a very, very small group of people that are going to qualify for that. And the big developers that, see this as an easy way to swoop in, buy some cheap land and then make a killing, we have news for them. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
And yes,
Annie?
focused on
I'm sorry.
the below market value ones are focused on homeownership, but that includes a number of different homeownership options like shared equity models, community land trusts. Any type of ownership is acceptable for the below market rate.
Okay, Annie, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Gilmore. Tony, you hit on what the question that I had, and I have a comment. But the question that I wanted just to have reiterated, when we talked about this about a year and a half ago, one of the things for those below market was once those have been taken care of, as far as people has been selected for those units, that they will hit the ground running as far as starting the process of having everything remodeled at this point, and not for those units to sit once they have been chosen. And that's one of the things that I was looking at the presentation. It was speaking of something like 2 years. I don't think, get me wrong, correct me, does that 2 year applies to the ones that needs to be selected at that $1 and not to be sitting? It should be immediately start its remodeling at this point, because they have time enough at this point to actually have clearance and seeing what type of loan that they will be able to, what type of loan that they will be able to receive at this time, and it won't be the unit sitting.
It's a little complicated, but you gotta realize that for someone to buy a unit for $1, they have that $1 in their pocket, no big deal, right? But then they have to go get roughly $300,000 to $350,000 per duplex to rehab that duplex. And if they don't have that, then they have to submit an application for either CDBG funds or some home funds, or whatever program, wherever they want to get that money, they have to go raise it. So that's going to take time. So we're saying we want to see that unit completed within 2 years, but we are also realistic about the challenges with going after funding and what that looks like and how long it takes. So if we have evidence that you're actually making that effort to raise that money and do the rehab and do what you're supposed to do, then we're okay with that. Okay, we'll give you more time. But if we have zero, in the way of any activity, you haven't applied for anything, you haven't come up with a realistic plan on how you're going to fund this, right. Let alone how you're going to market this, then within that contract we sign with these nonprofit developers is going to be a clause where we're going to recapture those units.
Absolutely.
We're going to go back in and say, all right, you screwed up, you didn't come through. We're going to take those and we're going to re-advertise them, or we're going to remarket them, or maybe we're going to see with the people that we did award units to, hey, you want some more? you know, and if they have the funding and they have the capacity, then they can do that, right? The idea, and I think you all want to see this, is not to have those units sitting around vacant for the next 10 years, right? Nobody wants to see that. We want families in those units sooner than later. And if it's in 2 years, I think that's aggressive. I agree with you, but that would be super. I think it'll be a little longer than that. But again, we need to make sure that everybody's clear. You know, we're giving you a target deadline, and then we can talk about renegotiating that.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. And just one other thing, I was looking at the presentation just quickly. It noted that our meeting starts at 5:30, and I just want to know what people coming in and being a part of the MAC to let them know it is at 5 o'clock instead of 5:30. So that's my comments, and thank you for your explanation.
Thanks, Annie. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any. Do one more thing in regard to the property sitting. I assume that, Tony, that you guys would have some type of holding cost stuff that will keep the project from, you know, looking, be a real blight to the community. So I assume that's
well, you know, this is the challenge and the tricky part. Once we sell that, now it's on your dime. So if you buy, let's say you buy 5 of these duplexes with the intent of fixing them up, well, it's now your job to either fence it, patrol it, you know, monitor it, do whatever it is that you got to do, because we no longer have legal jurisdiction on that.
right. So that I guess what I'm saying is that when people propose something, they should have a plan to address that, right? In their proposal. Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't see any other hands up or any other questions. If I missed you, speak out. Go off mute, speak out. If not, we're going to move to the next presentation. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everybody.
Okay, let's see. I don't have the agenda in front of me. I know it's number B.
Yeah, we have the North Richmond Shoreline presentation by the Watershed Project.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you, Tim. Will you be sharing this? Cool.
Yes, happy to. Here comes a share screen right now. Hopefully that's coming through, folks. Great. So I'll start, Nama, if that's okay, just with a couple of introductory sort of background comments, and then we'll move through this efficiently. I know time is tight this afternoon, or this evening. Just a sort of quick reminder of what folks may remember from seeing of the project previously. Here we're looking at a map of North Richmond and the San Pablo Creek and Wildcat Creek watersheds and adjacent lands. The various tones of blue in the map show the predicted changes in sea levels rising over the coming decades, and that those vulnerabilities prompted the West County Wastewater District to pursue regional funding from the San Francisco Bay Restoration Authority to support a planning and community-focused design effort for achieving multi-benefit solutions to sea level rise in North Richmond. And Nama and I are gonna talk through what that process has yielded so far. Just another sort of note to the sort of the area that we're looking at outlined in this, hopefully you can see my cursor moving, outlined in this dashed pink line is the entirety of the roughly 5 miles of the North Richmond shoreline that the project is studying adaptations for. And then in this yellow zone here is the area most vulnerable, closest to the West County Wastewater Treatment Facility, where they're closest to existing sea level. And the major focus of the past several months has been working together with community leaders, developing both an outreach and sort of co-design process. And I'm hoping Nama from Watershed Project can talk us through this part of the recap, and then I'll follow up towards the end here with some additional outcomes from that design effort that community residents have been a part of.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. I want to take a few moments and a few sentences and just remind everyone what this project is about and why it's so important. You know, we've been having really strong storms this last week, and the next 2 weeks we'll experience even stronger storms. And this month, actually, in January 21st and 22nd, we'll also experience king tide. That's event that happens every year with just very, very high tides. Just the tide itself will be 7 feet above the minimum tide, and adding to that, water coming from the creeks that reach the North Richmond shoreline. You know, the whole area is supposed to be flooded, and that's a really important observation for us to kind of understand what will happen to this area that is a low-lying area and was literally a mudflat before colonialism, and what will happen with sea level rise. And that was the intention behind this project. We're working on a plan to keep the water out of the neighborhood, both of the infrastructure like the highway and the West County wastewater facility, but also of the western houses of the neighborhood. So what we did is we collaborated with Mithun, and Tim is the lead architect on this, landscape architect on this project, and us, the Watershed Project. We do the community outreach for this project, and there's also an engineering company leading this. And so what I really want to do is show you some recap. Next slide, please. Thank you, Tim. So we were called to do the community engagement, and the plan was to do outreach, education, and gather community voices. This is exactly what happens in many projects. You know, the idea of designing something and also listening to the community. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to do something really different. Next one, please. And the idea was, instead of simply outreach, we wanted to do recruitment. We wanted community members to sit and work with us. And so instead of education on, you know, what is sea level rise, what will happen to the North Richmond shoreline after sea level rise, what are some solutions, what we did is we got these community members to work with us. And I'll tell you briefly about that process. And instead of only gathering community voices, we had community members do research on preferences and co-design a survey, a community survey with us. So, you know, overall, what we did is, instead of community engagement, we did community, we brought community members to the decision-making table. Next one, please. We started this with a series of webinars, and I think we had one in this setting as well. And probably some of you have already heard from us, and we explain what sea level is, sea level rises, why is it happening, what will the North Richmond shoreline look like in the future with sea level rise. And we explained that concept that we're working toward, which is a nature-based solution. We want to put a barrier that will keep the water out, not with a seawall, but rather with something that looks like a natural environment, and will also provide opportunities for other community amenities. Next one, please. After these series of webinars where we went to community centers and the senior center and to the school and PTA, and we did one in Spanish as well, and various MACs, we were able to recruit 20 community members, and they met with us weekly. That was a paid position. We wanted for them to sit with the designers and engineers at the same table. And so we started with a learning academy, kind of bringing them up to speed in terms of understanding concepts that are required. And then we divided them into 3 different work groups. Next one. We also had field trips to 2 locations. One of them is near the West County wastewater facility. And the second one is next to the landfill. This is a landfill loop. And if you don't know that, a lot of people are not aware of this trail. It's beautiful. Go out there and see this amazing nature that is next to your houses. Next one. And then we divided into 3 work groups. The idea of dividing into 3 work groups is we wanted small groups, so everyone will be active, everyone will be a part of this process. The first work group sat with Tim and other architects and engineers, and they worked on the actual solution, like envisioning the design approaches to how to keep the water out. Next one. The next work group worked around sustainability and growth, and the idea was to identify some issues that can bring into mutual benefits, like developing opportunities for employment, for housing, and for education. Next one. And the last work group was the community survey group, because we were required to do that, but we wanted the community members to literally decide what type of surveys, what type of questions to ask, and also to do all the outreach and decide who will participate in the survey. They administer the survey themselves, and we analyze the data together. Next one. And so this project, it had kind of 3 working approaches. One of them is a wide stakeholder collaboration, and I'll leave that, I know the team will speak about that a bit. Multi-benefit, so not only keeping the water out, but also providing opportunities for community amenities, and using that nature-based solution, not something that looks artificial. Next one. I'm sorry, I'm running through this, and if you have any questions, if we have time, I'll be happy to elaborate. Some of the outcomes of our work together. So the community survey told us that some of the things that are most important to you, and this is mostly North Richmond residents, is how to get to the shoreline. Currently there's parking, but it's very limited. It's impossible to get there by foot, and there's no public transportation. Community members were clear that they want optimally free, but for sure public transportation to the shoreline. And that is one of the things we're going to work on the future. They want multi-use of trails. So not only for cyclists, not only for dogs, but something that will relate to everyone. Safety is a big issue, even in the shoreline. And we have started to discuss this both for the upper part of the Wildcat Creek, but also next to the shoreline. And then the interesting thing is that a lot of community members said they would like the community to be involved in educational components. So they want community members to come and speak about cultural and educational amenities that relate to the shoreline. And that's a really good idea that we're thinking of as well. Next one. We also started to work on a community benefit plan, kind of trying to understand how this project can benefit the community in terms of trail, in terms of employment, in the installation of the project, and then in the maintenance of the project. Next one. Other things that we're doing, we're already contracted with an artist that will prepare 3 interpretive signage for the project. And we conducted a series of short interviews with tribal consultants from the Confederate villages of Lishan. Next one. And I think that's it. Thank you.
So I can just report out sort of quickly here on some of the design approaches that emerged from the process that Nama just described here. And so here we are looking at that same map again and keying in on some of those issues that Nama touched on, the difficulty in accessing the shoreline by foot and bicycle, and where those safe connections need to happen. You heard Nama mention a bit about the differences between a nature-based solution and other kinds of solutions, which we sometimes call gray. And so this gives you a sense of what we mean by that. So in this condition, which is what this project is seeking to change, is you might typically build a seawall right along the edge that would allow for protecting from sea level flooding, but that's about it. It's a one benefit kind of solution. And what our work with the community groups focused on was multi-benefit based on nature to create the protections. And so in that case, the height of the protection levee is much lower because you have a gentle slope in front that allows the marsh to continue to exist even as sea levels rise, and provides opportunities for trails and amenities and recreation atop the levee. And so we worked with the community groups and shoulder to shoulder designing some of these scenarios for the future of the shoreline, where we combine multi-use trails with sea level rise protection and habitat enhancements along the existing marshes. There was great development together around desired amenities, from boardwalks to kiosks to potentially sort of bird watching opportunities, native gardens. And then we worked with community members to identify those locations where those could be possible, both in terms of the existing land configurations, where folks really wanted to see those occur, where the sort of existing nature would allow those to occur. And then in addition to those, the opportunities for habitat enhancements also were identified with the group. And so I'm going to move a little more quickly here to where our groups identified those key early vulnerabilities. And if you see the three blue arrows along the map here, those identify the pathways for flooding from sea level rise in the future. And so we identified 3 areas to focus the near-term work. The yellow zone, which is adjacent to West County wastewater, and would provide trail upgrades and protections for the treatment plant. And then these 2 red zones, which we called collaboration clusters, where we worked with community members to envision what those spaces could look like in the future based on preferences that were developed in the workshops. And we're in the process of working with the stakeholders and landowners in those areas to move those ideas forward. Sorry, I'm moving kind of quickly here. I just want to make sure I wrap up with time for discussion if folks have questions. And so just a quick sort of look ahead. This is a sort of calendar running through 2030 almost, and you sort of see in the black box here where we're at currently, which is developing these concept plans and cost estimates, which are in process now. And then the other really crucial part of the current effort is reaching out for grant opportunities to keep the project moving forward. At the conclusion of this phase that's currently funded by the San Francisco Bay Restoration Authority, we'll get to about 30% design. And so the team is pursuing grants from regional, state, and federal agencies to fund design through 100% and also through construction dollars into the future. One other important milestone that's coming up in the spring is the team's next meeting with the regulatory agencies, so BCDC, Fish and Wildlife, State Water Board, so that we're able to talk with them about all this great community co-design ideas that emerged and get their input now so that we can eliminate any kind of regulatory issues with executing the project in the future. And I'll pause right there, say thank you.
Okay, there was Dulce, did you want to ask your question? Or?
Yeah, really quickly, what were some of the key, just because, yeah, it was going really fast, but the key interview themes with the Ohlone Nation or the First Nations in the area? And then the number's less important, but just curious about, yeah, the qualitative, how many people were interviewed?
Yeah, thank you, Dulcin. First of all, I apologize for running through this. 15 minutes is a very short time. So we interviewed Deja, Cheyenne, and Ruth Ortega from the Confederate Villages of Lishan. We went there once with them, but we conducted several interviews. We asked them questions about the importance of that location and the waterways to them historically, today, and what are their main concerns? What do they think we need to do in order to reduce the negative impact in the future? And we're preparing that to put on a website. It'll be part of the North Richmond Watershed Connection and Coastal Stories and several projects we're working on in the North Richmond area. I know that it was a lot. I just want to reiterate and say that this is work in progress. What we did for now is, like Tim said, it's only a 30% design. It's not even a full design. But we are working with community members from the get-go, and some of them are actually sitting in this Zoom room with us at the moment, and we want to appreciate and thank them for their participation. This is going to be a long-term process, and we want to come back and update you on this work from time to time, because we do need your support and to be sure that we are addressing your concern, and we need your support even in terms of getting the next fund to reach the next milestone. But definitely this is a critical project, because the North Richmond is a low-lying area, and it will be flooded with sea level rise, and protecting the neighborhood from sea level rise in the future is a big thing. So we need to start as soon as possible. And I see Cynthia here. I don't know if you want to add anything, if we have some time. And Cynthia Jordan, who worked with us hand in hand, and really thank you for that.
I would just like to say, it is a wonderful project, and I really think North Richmond residents should get involved. When we toured the both creeks, San Pablo and Wildcat, well, the creek that's behind the Richmond landfill, it's just something that you have to see for yourself. It is so amazing and so beautiful, and the potentials of what we're thinking about planning out there is something that you have to go out of the community to experience. Say, for instance, to go walking along the shoreline, or go walking on a boardwalk, or whatever. A lot of communities in the Bay Area have their shoreline developed to where North Richmond does not. And it is worth development.
Thank you. Obviously, amazing project. I definitely commend the outreach work that was done, and you took into consideration the community, and we look forward to your updates on a regular basis, and no doubt you will continue to engage the community, and I commend your efforts of what you've done. So thank you.
Thank you, and just thank you to Princess and Dulce and Rafael. And I'm sorry if I miss anyone, but I'm encouraging others to join us in the next phases. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So we're going to move on to C, this number C presentation.
Yes, and that's the Resilience Hub at Shields Reed.
Yes, the Resilience Hub. Greetings, everybody. My name is Chris Santiago. I'm with Rebuilding Together, East Bay North, and we wanted to take a few minutes to share with you the plans for the Resilience Hubs coming to Shields Reed Park early this summer. And this project is in response to high heat temperatures. It's really for emergency heat situations. And I'll go ahead and pull up a screen share here. And take you in. Can everybody see this large image that I'm sharing? Okay, great. So a couple things. So I just wanted to clarify that this project that's coming to Shields Reed Park, it's not a part of the community, the larger community revitalization project that's happening at Shields Reed Park. It's a separate project that has its own funding. It has its own timeline. This is based on a PG&E grant. And the purpose of this thing is to provide a few different things. As you can see from this image, it has solar power on it, and it's going to really fuel and energize a few different things from the misting lines that are going to be hanging from this overhang. And this is a loose design here. It might not look exactly like this, but this is a loose concept design. There'll be misting stations so people can cool down, come out of, and you know, this is for families. This is for anybody that might be playing at the park or walking by. It will have charging stations so people can plug in their phones and devices. And I believe it will be stocked with water, you know, for people that might be overheating, can stop in and get a cool down refreshment of water. So this is coming to the park this summer. And the one other thing that I want to bring to everybody's attention is that there is a call to action for an artist. We're looking for a master artist, you might say. You know, Rebuilding Together, we do a lot of stuff with volunteers. So we're hoping that we can recruit a volunteer artist to design out a mural for this thing that will really advertise, you know, the collaborative work that everybody is doing on this. So these images right here, Nevern Park Cooling Station, Rebuilding Together, PG&E, Shields Reed, kind of all the partners that are going to be involved in this. We'd like to kind of see them stamped on it. And also we want it to look, but more so the importance of having it beautified. So we're hoping to have like a nice artistic rendering on here that'll really represent the neighborhood well. So I have just a quick, simple page here to demonstrate the call to action, and that's that we're looking for a master artist to volunteer for the Cooling Station mural project in Shields Reed in support of the city of Richmond. And this project is going to have, for volunteer support, it's going to have a $500 volunteer stipend for whoever it is that wants to help with the work. And Rebuilding Together will provide all materials and supplies. And for more details, if anybody has any artists, any volunteer artists in mind, you can forward them to me. And they can contact me by email, cell phone, anybody that wants more information about this. So that's really the two things that we wanted to bring to everybody's attention, is the coming of the cooling stations here in early summer, and then the call to action for the artists to help out with the artistic design, the mural to put on this cooling station. And that's it.
Okay, questions, comments?
I see there's some questions in the chat by Princess. I think she was asking about the watts.
And I can ask my question, Tanya. I have a question there about what's inside this thing here, like what's going to be inside of it, and then will someone be there to manage it? Also, for the stipend, is the stipend for volunteering to like be there, or is it for the mural? And is it just a one-time thing, or like a continuance, like a monthly stipend or something?
Okay, so if I can address each of those questions. The volunteer stipend, it's a one-time stipend. It's just for the artist to do the mural. So that's what it is. It's a one-time project to design the cooling station mural, to get it painted, design it, commission the painting. However, that artist decides to do it, whether they're actually going to do it themselves or whether they want to do the design work and then hire an artist to do it, or if they have team members. Either way, the stipend will go, toward the master designer in whichever way they want to coordinate the project. And as to your other questions, as far as the programmatic stuff, I can't speak fully to the programmatic stuff. We're more here to do the build out and install of the actual container itself. But I know that there's been talks of the programmatic stuff being, as far as the inside of this thing, that it would be kind of designed out to have a little bit of a stock of supplies. I think water and stuff like that. I think there's supposed to be a table in there for anybody, any staff of the city. As far as hours and how much they'll be there, I can't speak to that precisely, but I could find out what the plan is there and kind of get back to everybody on that. But the inside should be have space for staff to be in there and be able to do things like deal with the charging stations, for example. So that would be one of the items that would be in there. There will be kind of like the battery things that can be plugged into. And as far as I understand, the front of these two doors are, they're going to be kind of like fabricated to where there's a gate that is locking. And then when, staff comes to open it up, they can actually open the gate, walk inside, come in and out, stuff like that. So I know that's not a lot of information, but I hope that gives you a little more idea.
Okay, I've got Latifah and then I have Stephanie. I'll see you, Cynthia. I'll get you.
Hey there. Did you say that this is going to be at the Shield Reed Park?
Yes.
Okay, because it said Nevin Park Cooling Station, so I was just wondering. Okay, so it's going to be at Shield. Okay.
Oh yeah, and my apologies. So just so you know, there's two of these going in. One is going into Nevin Park also. So my apologies for not clearing that up. But yes, one is going to Nevin Park, and then another one is coming to Shields Reed Park.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Stephanie.
Hi, this is Stephanie with City of Richmond. So I just wanted to answer the questions about staffing. SOS Richmond, they will be contracted, they're contracted to staff the Resilience Hub and Cooling Station through mid-2024, after which the City of Richmond will take over and staff it during extreme weather events. And this will primarily be operated during extreme heat weather events. So it's not, it's not something we will likely operate in the winter or spring months when it's not too hot in North Richmond. And we're also hoping to have dual use out of this. So the main purpose of the hub is to have power banks for people to store charge up their devices if their power goes out due to PG&E outages, and also to come and cool off with the misting tents if they don't have access to AC. We also hope that we could use it in the future for other things like a concession stand during sports events or community events. But the primary use is for to serve our residents during extreme heat events.
Okay, Cynthia.
Okay, so number one is I want to know where about at the park do you plan on locating this structure? And number two, how does it fit in with the renovation of the park? Now, number three is that the park is such a small area. Why didn't you consider putting it at a larger area like the Lucky Ace ballpark or something like that? And that's basically my questions.
Okay, Stephanie, would you be able to speak to what the decision, how the decision was made about where to place the cooling station?
Yeah, so we selected Shields Reed Park because it's centrally located in the neighborhood. So it's a shorter walk overall to all the residents in North Richmond, whereas the ball field is kind of, you know, up north in the outskirts of North Richmond.
But see, the ball field is still considered a part of North Richmond, and North Richmond residents use the ballpark. And also, if it was located out at the Lucky A's ballpark, people that use the Bay Trail and do the bicycle ride, you know, the walking and stuff, will have access to it also, compared to coming inner city to use something like that.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. But we did end up applying for it at Shields Reed Park. So that's where we must install it. This is a
So-
grant funded project.
It's a what fund, did you say?
Grant funded project.
So was there any outreach in the community about even if we wanted it to be there?
Yes, we
was-
worked with Supervisor Joya's office and the Shields Reed Neighborhood Council. We did announce this at the MAC meeting when we were applying. It was quite a while ago in 2021. And we also made the announcement when we received the grant. So we did this for Shields Reed and for Nevin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, I mean, these are like, what, old train trailers or something like that? That are being moved over to the site, right?
Yeah, they're basically shipping containers that are going to be built out.
So it's like, was that a prerequisite for applying for the funds, or that was just an idea of using those? I mean, have they been done somewhere else before?
The resilience hubs?
This
the
particular
shipping?
type of unit?
I can't specifically remember. It's been a while since we wrote the grant and I can't remember.
Well, I'm just wondering, I mean, because I would have thought that if you're really looking for a cooling center, that you have a built-in facility that could probably be adapted to be able to, you know, do some of the things that you're doing right there, instead of having, you know, one of these things at the site. I don't think it's, I mean, it's as Cynthia was saying, like we've put all this investment in this resource there. It probably could have, you know, went with some coordination to see if some of those grant funds could be used at the Shields Reed facility to address some of the things that it's trying to do.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, I'm in the recreation division, so that was definitely a consideration, but it was outside the funding capabilities of the grant. And in addition, we decided to do the outdoor one because when we applied for this grant, COVID was still a huge concern. And so we figured if, you know, for gathering purposes, outdoor would be the best way to serve someone in the extreme heat event.
Well, I mean, I know you said you did outreach and stuff, and so I'm just a little bit concerned about the whole planning process of it, but that's just my point of view. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but you know, the typical thing happens when you get a grant to go after the grant, but it's the grant that drives the project and not the community. And so perhaps there was a community vetting process, but you know, the guidelines that it's conceived as is really important, and the flexibility of what you can do in the community is important too. And I don't know if you're looking for support, it's already done, but you know, I'm not sure where we are with it right now. It's approved, you got the money and you're going through, and that is where we are. Is that pretty much a timeline that you have?
Yeah, so I mean, we could definitely, you know, the container hasn't been placed yet. We can definitely ask our grantors if there's any flexibility. If, you know, if it seems based on the feedback we're receiving today, that Shields Reed actually isn't the ideal site. Staffing wise, that it is ideal though, because we're located adjacent to the community center.
Don?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? This is Eleanor talking. How are you? I'm in agreement with Princess. It looks like a dumpster, and I don't think it's very attractive for the renovation that has been done over at Shields Reed and they're staying down. So I don't, and if she didn't go to this board, this committee, you don't know anything too much about it, then apparently she didn't go to do the right balance for this. And it doesn't look attractive at all.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit on your
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, we kind of got, you were coming in and out.
Yeah, I'm on somebody else's laptop. I was said that it doesn't look attractive at all. I agree with that in the message that looks like a dumpster. It doesn't fit in.
Yeah, you're still breaking up. I'm thinking you're saying that it doesn't look attractive as all. Is that what you
It
said?
doesn't look attractive and it doesn't fit. And if she did come to this board, then I don't see how it got approved. If it has been approved.
Yeah,
Oh, you can't hear me. I don't know how to.
Yeah, we can't.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
well, a little bit.
What I was saying is, I don't think it's practice in the park because there's been a lot of new.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, but we can't really make it out. All I know is that you seem to be opposed to it. Yeah, okay. Okay. Tanya, can you elaborate on this process? The last speaker, if you can put your comments in the chat too, maybe that'll help us as well.
Do you want me to elaborate on the process, like the?
Well, I mean, I just, if we got community buy-in, I'm okay. I'm just really sensitive to funding, driving what happens as opposed to community driving what happens. And so.
Yeah, and I think I will also, Stephanie comes on a monthly basis to do reports. So it could be maybe like a standing item that we kind of talk about as we troubleshoot, kind of the design, because it sounds like they want to do kind of an artistic component. Maybe we can get really creative so it kind of gets away from what people are saying is kind of like a dumpster kind of look, I think we can like write down some the concerns right now and kind of on a monthly basis kind of follow up.
I mean, I might be the only one hearing this for the first time. I did miss some meetings. So if the other members of the MAC, if this is not your first time and you guys have followed it, please speak up and let me know. Yeah, I'm getting comments from that they have not, been engaged in this. And so that does give me concern.
Yeah, I mean, Stephanie, would you be okay? Maybe we can get together and kind of think about how we want to proceed, like in the next upcoming kind of meetings to like get more feedback and talk to the grantors and see like, what, because it sounds like we got the money, so thankfully there's money coming into the community, but now it's like, how do we implement a project that has the buy-in of the community that everyone, feels like okay with, that aesthetically looks like everything else that's happening at Shields Reed. And so I think it's just like addressing some concerns that are being expressed, and also just that keeping kind of like constant communication. And I think this meeting and the fact that Shields Read is a line item, in our monthly agenda, we can like continue to bring it up every month for just transparency and communication. Does that sound okay with you, Stephanie, as kind of like a next step? I do want to continue moving us, just because we do have one more presentation and then we have the agency.
Yes, that's true. Or we could hold it there unless anyone from the community or the council has any concerns. I think we do need more conversation. Okay, we're going to move to item D.
Yes.
Yep.
This is the Healthy Contra Costa North Richmond Youth Listening Project.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see the presentation slides?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so hello, everyone. My name is Dante, pronouns he, him, his, and I'm the project manager for resident leadership with Healthy Contra Costa, formerly known as Healthy Richmond. And today I'm going to present with the North Richmond youth leaders the findings and the data and the recommendations from the North Richmond Youth Listening Sessions. And this was a project in collaboration with the Rise Center to ensure that the wants and needs of North Richmond youth are centered in the design of a potential future youth community center based in North Richmond. And that was through the listening sessions and also a Google Form survey, which will help inform and drive community priorities and investments. And I'd like to note that this is a condensed version of our slide deck. So once we put the condensed link in the chat, you will also have access to the full presentation, which has more comprehensive details from the findings. And I'll pass it over to Dana, who can introduce herself.
Hello, you guys. I am Dana Hernandez, and I'll pass it down to the next person.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Gulino.
Hello, everyone. My name is Itlali Lechuga.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Ortega.
And hello, everyone. My name is Jose de Jesus Navarro.
And the last youth member who wasn't here today is Vialis. And I'll pass it over to, I believe, Cole.
Yeah, hey everyone. Excuse me, good evening. So just as like a little bit of background on our project and focus. So during the North Richmond quality of life planning process, one of the key priorities that was identified was youth and education. It's extremely important to understand that the plan noted that the challenges of the scarcity of places where youth can experience happiness and joy through supportive environments that promote cohesion and belonging. So youth in North Richmond, particularly middle schoolers and high schoolers, need supportive environments in which they can grow within themselves and their community. And Dante, you can go ahead and go to the next slide here. So a little bit of our purpose. Basically, the purpose of our listening sessions that we conducted were to engage with the youth in North Richmond and gather information on what the youth need and want in relation to resources, support, and programs. Then we can use this information to synthesize a vision for a youth community center based in Richmond, particularly North Richmond, and share it with key stakeholders and officials. In particular, we aspire and intend that our recommendations informed from our findings will be integrated into the RFP of the Los Deltas sites specifically. And then I'll go ahead and hand it back to Dante for a little bit more information on our listening sessions.
Yeah, so in the course of about 2 years, there were 5 listening sessions. And just to be mindful that this started around the time when the pandemic hit, and also with like staff transitions, intern transitions, it was hard to keep it at a stable pace. But when I came on board, I was able to pick up the momentum of the previous work. So I would like to acknowledge the previous staff members and other advocates in North Richmond that are advocating for a youth center. But To highlight, we had one in January 16th, 2020 with Verde Elementary School, Verde School middle schoolers, and then a few from Helms Middle School which was held over Zoom. And then also transitional aged youth, which was also over Zoom. So these first 3 sessions were held over Zoom. And then the last 2, as the pandemic started to die down and it became more safer to have in-person sessions, we held 2, one at Verde Elementary School with 8th graders, and then also we connected to the Safe Return Project, who work directly with at-risk youth, and we had 3 participants from there. And in total, there was about 48 to 53 listening session participants who were also all incentivized with a $15 Target gift card. And I'll pass it over back to Cole.
Yeah, so just as Ante said, it's pretty important to recognize the fact that this listening session and campaign took place over about 2 years with a lot of places. So here are some of the questions that we asked in our listening session. These sessions took place in person as well as virtual, and the youth were given the ability to pass or disengage from the session at any time, whenever they wanted. So our questions revolved around community pride and how the youth feel about their neighborhoods, as well as their education and support systems. And finally, the sessions sort of wrapped up with questions around what the youth feel that they lack in their community or their schools, and what they would like to see in the possibility of a new youth center within their area. And then I will go ahead and pass it off to the next person.
For the question about what youths are proud of, there were likes, neutral views, and dislikes. Young people were proud about people, connections, relationship, culture, new buildings like apartments. However, some youth members expressed lack of hope due to many reasons, and also some youth could not really identify what made them proud to be a part of the community. I'll pass it on.
And in this one, youth expressed positive, neutral, and negative responses to how they felt about their neighborhood. Youth that gave up positive feedback felt that their neighborhoods were safe, had convenient transportation access, felt connected with community members. Those in a more neutral response, some youth expressed not caring at all in a more passive-aggressive tone, or just didn't have the confidence to know how they felt. In a more negative light, many felt that the violence, accidents, and drugs shaped the level of discomfort and lack of safety. And I'll go on and pass it to Joanna.
So for support and who do you look up to? A lot of young people said that they receive support and look up to their family, friends, partners, school staff, religion, church, sports teams, professionals, community-based organizations, social media and influencers, art, music, and no one but themselves. But what we heard was that the youth seeks to support and look up to people that they have relationship with, professional community-based organizations, and the following that I already stated. And however, some responded that they actually don't look to anyone or no one else but themselves. And this data can also be found in the link below. And I'm gonna pass it on.
Yeah, so these are the what we heard and what do we want to see. So the top 4 things that we identified that young people want to see in their community is recreational sports spaces, mental health spaces, homeless shelter and affordable housing, and also an increased community safety. And then other things that we identified by the community were these things below, which are legal services, shopping centers, green spaces, and more. And I'll pass it on.
For building spaces and senses, if youth were to build something meant for their community, they would want it to look like, feel like, and sound like these. The young people would want a future youth center to be easily accessible, healing, entertaining, sustainable, and a place to build community and network. And they would like and need many different types of high quality improved services, such as mental health services, transportation, food access, physical activity spaces, housing, financial workshops, library spaces, shops and restaurants, workforce development, homeless shelter, educational services, and life skills services and trainings. For more raw collected data, you can look at the North Richmond Youth Listening data at the link.
And then here, this is like an event. We talked to those that attended to the outreach in Vida Elementary, and we brought up the 4 topics regarding health and wellness services, recreational space, safety, and food justice. And I'll pass it down to Cole.
Yeah, so with that being said, that was some of the information and data from our youth listening sessions and campaign. Now we're going to be go ahead and moving into our Google Forms survey. So here are the questions that were asked in the Google Forms survey. These questions focused on, for one, the demographics of the respondents to start out. And then we went on to cover the opportunities of the youth to obtain adequate life skills, as well as their opportunities to obtain healthcare, transportation, to create safety, and the opportunities that support youth achieving their goals. With that being said, in this Google survey, it's extremely important to note that with the survey, the amount of respondents may have been low. It was around 35, but it yielded some very important ideas and solutions from the youth perspective. And with all of this and this whole presentation, it's important to recognize that a lot of this is from the youth perspective. And then I will go ahead and pass it on.
All right, so this is a summary of our demographics on the Graphola. You can see the race, ethnicity, etc. So for the majority of our participants, it was Latinx, Chicanx, Latino or Chicano. The next one would be South Asian, and then following would, oh no, wrong. Black African American would be next, and South Asian would be after. And then we also have the parts where it's more than 2. And then as well, you could also reference the raw data on the link below. And I'll pass it on.
All right, and then here's a summary of, again, summary of demographics. So now we're focusing more on the age range. So the top age range we had for the info was 13 and below. And then we had, next we had 14 to 18, that was like 31%. And then we had, for 17% of the age range was 19 to 21. And then the smallest category was 22 or older. And I'll pass it on.
For gender identity, majority identified as male, following with female, as well as genderqueer, and one born male identified as male as well.
Summary of life skills and needs for success is digital media and technology, arts, paint, film, and etc., finances, credit, taxes, election and voting, civic engagement and policy, cooking and nutrition, local history and culture, college, higher education, careers, and trade schools. I'll pass it on.
And in here, there are other needs that youth should be provided with and aid them with life skills, such as housing accessibility and immigration services, and etc. I'll pass it down to Joanna.
I'm sorry, I thought it was unmuted. So for what would make you feel safer, we found that crime prevention through environmental design would be beneficial. So this would include improved street lighting, improved streets, sidewalks, outdoor spaces to hang out. So for example, a youth community center that we're advocating for. And for workforce, this included community crisis response teams, more police presence, but also less police presence, which we'll also go into later, and trusted adult allies. And I'll pass it on.
All right, so here are the top services that need improvements. So for service improvement areas, we would like public transportation. So that would include BART, bus, etc., and personal transportation, access to housing and services for unsheltered population and mental health counseling, public safety / police, amenities, so such as laundromats, grocery stores, and of course, advocacy and community organizing, substance use treatment, and prevention. And I'll pass it on.
In general, most participants did not utilize health providers in hospitals. Out of these were Center for Health North Richmond, which Centro de Salud North Richmond, Lifelong Medical, Kaiser, and other health providers. So yes, I'll pass it.
So during the analysis of this process and the findings, we connected with a few different stakeholders, such as the City of Richmond's Department of Children and Youth, the Safe Return Project, and some others, community stakeholders, since they resonated with different findings and areas or themes. But in particular, when we met with the Department of Children and Youth, they shared that, like when we showed our initial findings, that they seen a lot of overlap with what they found in their community needs assessment, which was held in 2020 or 2021. And then in the following slides, I'm not going to go over every piece, but you can see on the left side what we found based off of the listening sessions, and then also what they found. And what they found was based on both North Richmond and general City of Richmond youth. I'm just going to quickly skim through here. And then now we're just going to transition to recommendations that we shared to the Contra Costa Housing Authority.
For the first part on the recommendations is the design and the programming. This typically would range for the ages of 16 and 24, and some given opportunities would be internships, trade school, or shadowing. And it's very critical to enhance youth social skills, knowledge, collaboration, and time management. And under the design, it would potentially create a youth production space and allowing them to create and blossom. And I'll pass it down to Elizabeth.
Based on how youth would like the programs to be offered, the youth center should be open and available for youth to access at all times, especially during the hours after school. It should be a safe haven when school and the place they are living at is unavailable. Based on the public spaces youth have used, youth want to and physical features to make young people safer. Youth center be green, such as adding a garden, environmentally friendly, and in a way that allows for the center to be a venue for indoor and outdoor community, and it didn't positively influence safety. Furthermore, there should be an incentivized cleanup and recycling program. And I'd like to pass it on.
All right. So for the first recommendation we have is based on the youth go-to support for why. Human resources, so like hiring practices. So we would have staff hired to manage the youth center must be the following. So they must be inspiring, they must inspire young people, strive to foster young person's vision of success, be able to provide comfort and safety, responsible and accountable to the community, be sincere and realistic, be empathetic, strong-willed, and provide guidance. And another thing that we have for recommendation is services. So in the long-term design of the center, should support, integrate, and connect to the following services. So have a community closet, so clothing donations. There is an opportunity to build and leverage the school-based health center of Verde K-8, mental health services, shelter, and also wellness and a meditation room. And I'll pass it on to Citlali.
Based on how often you use health providers in hospitals, we wanted there to be awareness and improve access to transportation, such as shuttle to the community health centers, increased bus routes, as well to current local health providers in hospitals. And for the design, we hopefully want you to be able to design and integrate most of the health services and a resource program within the center. Based on how often youth use different types of transportation methods, There would be a hope for increased transportation methods for youth by increasing the number of local buses, invest in low cost or free transportation services for youth, such as free bus passes, coupons for rideshare, rental bikes, or scooters specific to North Richmond, as well integrating driver's education into the program provided by the youth center. In the North Richmond Quality of Life Plan, there is a vision for a transit hub, shuttle service to BAR, the ferry, and major hubs for employment. Thank you. I'll pass it on.
And then for our third recommendation, for based on what makes youth feel safer in our community, we stated that safety is a complex issue that requires a multi-phase and innovative approaches. From our surveys and listening sessions, there's a need for relationship building, healing, trauma-informed practices. During the discussions with our North Richmond youth leaders, they discussed the complexity of racism and mass incarceration system. From a holistic lens of other basic needs and stressors that contribute to the risk exposure to engaging factors of unsafety, this can lower the need for relying on policing system and presence. Also, having trusted adults and allies directly from the community can provide a safe place for youth. And lastly, having outdoor spaces informed by crime prevention through environmental design and community crisis response teams will shape a safer environment for the youth center. However, in the case of violent crimes as a last resort, there should be increased police presence and short-term solution. So yeah, we wanted to amplify that having these trusted allies that grew up in the community would be a better resource for the community to feel safer, being as a lot of police come from outside of North Richmond and don't really relate to the youth. So having trusted allies would be a better resource for them. And based on the other things mentioned in life skills for program services and designs, we want to integrate spaces that support art and preserve local history and culture. It should allow for creativity, self-expression, empowerment, inspiration, healing, and dealing with trauma and escapism. Local history and culture should be delivered in art and film and other forms of self-expression, such as spoken word. And a great example of this was a film series on North Richmond created by Doug Harris. And I will pass it on.
Yeah, so to finalize our recommendations here, we have a little bit of a comparison between Shields Reed and our recommendations. I'm sure everyone is pretty familiar with Shields Reed, but Shields Reed is a community center and park located in North Richmond. Currently provides a lot of opportunities and services to the community, some of which are in our current recommendations. Those being sort of community green spaces, sports and outdoor activities, after school education opportunities, community bonding opportunities, as well as activities, classes that revolve around health. So in comparison to our recommendations, our current recommendations serve to bridge the gap between what is currently provided and what the youth in our community are hoping to see in a new full service community center. Our recommendations may be similar to what is already provided. However, they highlight areas in which the youth would like to see improvement. For example, more in-depth programs around arts and expression, extended hours of accessibility, connections to mental and physical health services, connections to crime prevention and safety services, connections to homelessness and housing services, as well as connections to transportation and accessibility services. And it is extremely important to note that this youth center would be more akin to the RISE Center that is currently located in Richmond. However, it's not extremely close to North Richmond, meaning that this new center would have multiple arms and functions that would be informed by our youth recommendations. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Dante for our Q&A/dialogue section.
Yeah, so I'm not sure on time, but I just wanted to pose that after hearing the presentation, if any of you have feedback, thoughts, or ideas, feel free to unmute, put it in the chat, or contact me. I'll put my email in the chat. And we had 3 questions to follow up with after hearing the findings. So like hearing the wide range of like issue areas and needs, but also like aspirational ideas that our youth have, how can we assemble a coalition of direct service providers, community-based organizations like RISE, Yes Nature to Neighborhoods, and other organizations that kind of like relate to different areas or solutions that the youth brought up, and also system representatives, the city of Richmond, the school district, Contra Costa Health Services, to inform plans and provide thought partnership for the development of a potential North Richmond Youth Center. And then after hearing this, like, what are some things that you can identify that are like short-term tangible deliverables that we can help work on to advance this work, and also even long-term aspirational ones. And then so far, we did present this to the Contra Costa Housing Authority back in December. And we heard that our recommendations will be treated more of like appendices alongside the RFP. And moving forward, we hope to have conversations and advocate how to actually like integrate our recommendations into the body or the language of the request for proposal in alignment with the North Richmond Quality of Life Plan. And here's a quote directly from the Quality of Life Plan that will help reground us in that. So, a persistent challenge facing youth in North Richmond is the scarcity of places where they can experience joy and happiness. Youth need supportive environments that are conducive to their learning and education and promote messages of social cohesion and belonging. Indoor and outdoor gathering spaces should provide for the civic, educational, social, and recreational needs of the community. And Healthy Contra Costa is willing to be that strategic intermediary and also a convener to bring in the different stakeholders. Like, for example, if we know that we want to work with youth directly impacted by the justice system, we'll bring in Safe Return, who also has expertise on restorative justice practices. Or if Yes Nature to Neighborhoods wants to be involved in how do we get more youth in touch with nature and stuff like that, how do we get them at the table? Or, you know, bringing in like a lot of the issues that youth brought up were mental health related, like maybe Contra Costa Health Services and their behavioral health team. Like, how do we bring them into the picture? So yeah, that concludes our presentation today.
Thank you. I think it captures a lot of data that'll be good throughout the North Richmond. I know a lot of stuff has come up before, and I think that you know, it'd be good to have a plan around actually doing a center like this, which basically that talks about what are the financing arms that can be lobbied to get there. I mean, you could go study and see how RISE was able to get their facility. How were they able to finance it? I think all that stuff is good to know. I don't know how Los Deltas can actually, I mean, Tony can talk more about this, but it sounds like that they'll put the needs into the RFQ, RFP, and people will have that as a backdrop. But it's daunting, and having an example like RISE is probably good to work off of, to see how they were able to build the resources to be able to do that. And so I'm not one of trying to reinvent the wheel, but definitely we know we need these services, and a lot of activities that you have addressed, I think have been known. It's been the resources available to do them. But we strive to be able to do that. Any other, I see one hand up. But I mean, can you put yours in the chat? I don't think we hear you good, but you can try. Go ahead. No, it's not working again.
Yeah, Lenore, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we can't make out what you're saying. And we're gonna really have to move on unless Dulce, go ahead. You get.
Yeah. I want to say thank you all for the presentation and the thorough data. I do think it's important to prioritize what are the top important things out of everything that you all captured, because not everything can be put in a developer's RFP, RFQ. So there's things where you're like, a developer isn't looking at these things. And so I think thinking through that, what are the top priorities? And as Don said, it's not that we don't want this to happen in North Richmond. It's really about finding the money to make it happen. And so figuring out, what does a budget look like to put something like this in North Richmond? And I think those two things, doing a list of priorities and then a budget to fund this, what that looks like, are two good next steps.
Thank you, Dulce. Let's see. We have to move on unless somebody has their hand up. I don't see anybody else. Thank you for the presentation. And we'll move to our reports from the community. Let's see. I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, the city of Richmond.
Okay, City of Richmond, go ahead. And while you do that, let me get my thing together here.
Should I do the mobile tool library now? I wasn't clear what you meant by City of Richmond.
Yes, that's part of.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah, I'll make this quick, everybody. I'm Jessica from the North Richmond Mobile Tool Library. And I made an announcement at the last MAC meeting, but I'm just going to go ahead and make the same announcement here tonight for those of you who weren't here last time. We're going to have our grand opening for the North Richmond Mobile Tool Library on Saturday, January 21st. And this has been a long time in the making, so we're really excited about it. And I just wanted to, let you guys all know it's happening. Invite everybody that's here. All ages are welcome. There's going to be food. There's going to be t-shirt screen printing, bike repair workshop, birdhouse building for youngsters. There's going to be a lot of different things going on. And please come and bring your families if you have any interest in that kind of thing. Also, we're going to have some local organizations are tabling there. We currently have about 5 of them. And I know there's a lot going on in North Richmond. So just kind of wanted to mention to some of the people that presented tonight, like Hannah and Tony and Nama and Tim, Urban Tilth, Latifa, if any of you are interested in kind of tabling or sharing the different projects you're working on, the Shoreline Project and the Hope Gardens and all these different things that are going on in North Richmond. The Los Deltas too, that's a big one. We are going to be providing tables, and it'll be a good opportunity to share and promote some of this stuff that's going on in North Richmond. So yeah, that's it. And I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat, and I can send you a flyer for the date for the grand opening if you want to just send me your email. So anyway, thanks everybody and Happy New Year. Stephanie wanted to say a few words, Donald.
Okay, that's fine.
Thanks.
Hello, this is Stephanie Nye again from City of Richmond Community Services Department. I just wanted to provide a brief update and invitation regarding the Greater Shields Reed project, the Shields Reed Park renovation project that's funded by Prop 68. We have, I think a few months ago, I announced that the RFP had been released for all the arts portions of the project. We did receive the RFP responses, and then we're currently in phase 2 of the artist process. So artists have been selected to continue on to the process and submit models and storyboards for their art proposals. So our next step is to invite all of you to an open house for the Shields Reed Public Art on Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. This is an informational session for you to come in and view all the art proposals for the renovated park and out exterior of the community center. It'll be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Shields Reed Community Center, and it'll be indoors. So please feel free to join us, and you can reach out to me if you have any questions. And the flyer for that is in Tanya's e-newsletter for the North Richmond MAC, and I'll also share the link to the city manager's weekly report where we posted it as well, if you wanted to save the information. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dulce, did you have your hand up from before, or you have a question?
Sorry.
It's okay, no problem. Shields Reed Neighborhood Council?
I don't think there's anyone here for that.
Okay, any more update from the Housing Authority?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, Tanya.
Yes, I have some quick announcement. First, I just want to thank everyone who donated to the Verdi Holiday fundraiser. It was a success, and we were able to fundraise all the funds for sweaters, some hoodies, and brand new books. And the reason you haven't seen any pictures is because there was a delay with the sweater order. So we'll be gifting all of those to the students this Thursday during the rally. So there'll be pictures and thank you letters coming out for that. But I just wanted to thank everyone and kind of give an update of when the giveaway is going to happen. And another update is that Supervisor Joya wants to do a walk in North Richmond in January. And this walk will be specific for street lights. So, you know, we've been getting complaints that some streets in North Richmond are very dark and the lights are not bright enough, or there's just not enough visibility because there's dim street lights. So we'll be coordinating a walk in North Richmond to kind of just identify, you know, those streets that need to be improved and kind of work with PG&E or the county or the city to kind of like address some of the light issues in North Richmond. So if anyone in the audience or anyone on the North Richmond MAC is interested in joining, please reach out to me and I can include you in the coordination for that walk in January. And then we'll also be doing a walk this month of Wildcat Creek. That was not necessarily open to the public, it's more for like stakeholders. But a lot of stakeholders in North Richmond and city and county agencies have identified Wildcat Creek as a priority area. So we'll be doing a lot more work around the Wildcat Creek as like the surrounding areas to the school. So we'll have more updates on kind of like, you know, how to make we'll be addressing like safety concerns, but also thinking about ways just to improve it. But it's one of our priority areas this year. And then my last announcement is that I will be leaving on maternity leave. So Robert Rogers, thankfully, is still in our office, Supervisor Joy's office. So he will be joining the North Richmond MAC meetings in February and March, and then I plan to come back after that. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone, and I'm excited to give birth, I guess, and I'm excited to come back. And thank you to all the speakers. This was a great first meeting to start off the year.
All right, thanks, Tanya. Let's see, mitigation, CHDC mitigation.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Happy New Year's to start off. So what I want to report out is that one, the newsletters have been successfully distributed throughout North Richmond already. We've been getting a lot of good compliments and also a lot of more people contacting us regarding vouchers and everything. So that was very successful. And then also, I'm really excited to work with all our partners. We're going to start our first resource team walk next week. So for next meeting, we'll have updates for everybody with a report. And that's it for today.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Let's see, is there anything else? CHDC, is Janine there? No? Okay. Richmond Land.
No major updates, but I did want to share that we had the holiday light display last month in December. We hope to share the pictures from that in the coming weeks. And we had a ton of families. It was really fun, and really thankful for all of you who made it out there.
Cool, great. All right, Corporation Richmond. That's Princess, right? Nope.
Yeah, she said she didn't have any updates unless Princess, you want to say otherwise.
No updates, thank you.
Irwin Tip.
Hey there, I just wanted to reiterate in case anyone came in after the first part of the meeting. So I want to invite you to Martin Luther King Day at the farm on January 16th. It's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The first part of the day is planting in the newly constructed rain gardens. It's like from 9 to 11:30, and then we'll transition. You can grab some food and participate in the community. We're going to be honoring some community members, so we'd love for you to join us from 11:30 to 1 for that. Today, you all mentioned something about the cooling center, so I wanted to let you know that we have the 5-phase construction plan at Urban Tilt, and we're starting construction after the rainy season. But I wanted to let you know that there is a cooling center. It probably won't be constructed until next year. So one of the, let me see if I can just put a picture in there for you of what that's going to look like. So that's the community room but in instances of extreme weather, yeah, we're really working hard to get all the everything that's needed for that to also be a cooling center. And just for your, you can also look at what the future farm will look like. I'll just put that there. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And so for the record, let's let by consensus that we have gone over, and it's deemed approved by consensus from the board members, unless I hear something to the contrary. I hear none. So thank you all for being present and your input and presentations, and very good first meeting. And I look forward to us continuing our work that we're doing in North Richmond. So thank you, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.